Down with this sort of thing. Careful now.
What is up everybody and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be going through a free hit draft for Game Week 32, which I think is extremely optimal for most managers. With the majority of managers having upwards of 10 players blanking this week, Game Week 32 is a perfect week to free hit. The teams to target this week will be Liverpool, Arsenal, Crystal Palace and Aston Villa. Overall this draft will be close to what I end up prior to the deadline, as I believe it covers all the main targets while still having 5.1 million in the bank in order to make changes. If you do find this video helpful, then please do drop it a like and subscribe to the channel. Also let me know down in the comments below what your plans are ahead of Game Week 32, and without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off with my goalkeepers for the free hit team, we have Aaron Ramsdale and Daniel Iverson. The current plan is to have Ramsdale as the starting goalkeeper as Arsenal face off against Southampton at home in Game Week 32. Since Saliba got injured, Arsenal's defence has been a shadow of its former self. However, one player who has still kept their high reputation is indeed Ramsdale. Whilst Arsenal have conceded in 4 of their last 5 games, Ramsdale has been impressive as ever and has been averaging 3 saves a game. With Arsenal facing off against a Southampton side who are worse for expected goals this season, it should be safe to expect a clean sheet for an Arsenal team who will be fighting to keep the league. I also prefer Ramsdale over an Arsenal defender due to the recent rotation we've seen in the back line since Saliba got injured. Tierney came in for Zinchenko this weekend, whilst we have also seen Fabio Vieira feature in numerous games. Arteta may look to rotate again against Southampton in order to prepare for the City game. However, if this is the case, then it shouldn't be an issue as Ramsdale is 100% nailed for each Premier League game. Having Iverson as a backup is mainly to free up funds, whilst also having a keeper who has a good fixture this weekend if needed. If you wanted to upgrade this position, then you could do so with the remaining money. Moving on to the back line for this week, we line up with a back 3 of Trent, Guéhi and Tyrone Mings. With Liverpool facing off against Forest this week, Trent is a must-own player. Over the last 6 games, Forest have conceded 81 crosses down their left flank as well as 24 chances. These stats are exactly why you want to own Trent. The main reason you should own Trent this week is purely because of his attacking threat rather than Liverpool's possible defensive returns. Liverpool's inconsistent defence is why I've gone with Trent as my sole Liverpool defender. If Klopp continues to play Trent in this inverted role, then he will continue to feature in the attack and thus increase his likelihood of returns. If I wasn't on free hit this week, Trent would be my priority transfer. Guéhi is also a great pick for Game Week 32. Since the arrival of Roy Hodgson, Palace have been transformed with 3 wins in their last 3 games whilst only conceding 2 goals. With Palace facing off against Everton this week, I believe there's a really strong chance of them keeping a clean sheet at home. Everton rank 18th for goals per match this season and may struggle at Selhurst Park. Guéhi also provides some aerial threat from set pieces and is certainly a good player to own this week. Lastly, I have Tyrone Mings in the team for Villa's game against Brentford. Whilst Brentford have been in good form this season, they have only managed to score 1 goal in their last 3 games and face off against a Villa side that have only conceded 1 goal in their last 5 games. Mings has been transformed under Emery and has provided some serious stability to the Villa defence. Whilst Villa are away from home, I see no reason why they can't continue their amazing defensive form against Brentford. The midfield for Game Week 32 lines up with Salah, Martinelli, Eze and Bowen. Whilst not a lot needs to be said about Salah and Martinelli, the rest of the midfield is definitely where I would expect to see some variance this week. Salah and Martinelli are the safest picks this week given their form. Whilst Salah has yet to play in Game Week 31, I expect him to get at least 1 return against Leeds. Martinelli is also the best Arsenal player at the minute as he made it 5 returns in 5 games with his assist against West Ham. I recommend going with Odegaard over Saka if you did want to have double Arsenal midfield this week, as Saka's form has really dipped in recent weeks. Game Week 31 saw a lot of managers end up on the wrong side of the decision to go for Eze or Elise, as Eze scored 2 goals and returned with a massive 16-point haul. Whilst I do worry that Game Week 32 could be Elise's turn to get a massive haul, I believe Eze is still the best pick out of the 2 given his great underlying data. Bowen makes up the last starting position for Game Week 32 with an appealing fixture against Bournemouth. Whilst Bournemouth will be just off the back of a massive result against Spurs, I still back West Ham to get something from that game with Bowen being heavily involved. Bowen has really been West Ham's main talisman in recent games with 3 returns in 3 games. With Bournemouth ranking worst for goals conceded per match this season and Bowen being in great form currently, it could be a great opportunity to get Bowen into our teams for a 1-week punt. Having Maddison over Bowen is also a possibility for this week as Leicester face Wolves. However, given the form of both Maddison and Leicester in recent weeks, I'm inclined to avoid him on my free hit. Lastly, the attack for Game Week 32 is arguably the most exciting part of the team, with Watkins, Darwin and Gabriel Jesus all starting. Whilst Aston Villa face off against Brentford away from home in Game Week 32, Watkins is a must-own on any free hit given the form he is currently in. Villa's game against Newcastle saw Watkins score a brace and also have a 3rd goal ruled out for a very tight offside call. These 2 goals now means that Watkins has scored 5 goals in his last 4 games and has returned in his last 6 games in a row. Nunez is a controversial pick for free hit 32 due to how much pain he has brought some owners previously. However, However, I feel like passing up the opportunity to own Núñez with such a good fixture in 32 may come back to bite some managers. Whilst Darwin's data always looks extremely appealing, it doesn't often translate into actual returns. However, I much prefer owning Darwin over Tony for 32, and that's why he's in the team. If you're unsure about owning Núñez, then I would recommend watching the Liverpool-Leeds game in order to see how Núñez plays in that fixture. The last player to start for me in 32 is of course Jesus, as I opt for him over double Arsenal midfield. Since his return, Jesus has scored 4 goals in 3 games and has had an XG of at least 0.9 in each game he's played. One of the main concerns with Jesus is his expected minutes, as he hasn't played a full 90 since he returned from injury. However, this doesn't really worry me, as it would be expected when coming back from a pretty serious injury. With Saka's form dipping, Jesus is arguably one of the best Arsenal assets to own alongside Martinelli. On the bench for Game Week 32, we have Iverson, Trippier, Vestergaard and Andreas. Whilst I do recommend owning Trippier this week, I don't believe it is necessary to start him. Newcastle's defence is a shadow of its former self, as they have conceded 5 goals in their last 3 games. Trippier has also only returned once in his last 5 games. Vestergaard is in the team to cover any issues, whilst Andreas is arguably someone you could start this week, due to him now being on penalties since Mitrovic's ban. Leeds at home is a great fixture for Fulham, and thus Andreas is a great option to have on the bench. Some notable options that I don't have in this team are Solanke, Kane, Son, Iheanacho, Robertson and Tony. All of these assets are great options for this week, and I would recommend going for them if you don't like some of the assets I have. It is important to remember that the success of your free hit team is not purely measured by your points that week, but instead your points over a number of weeks. The reality of FPL is that you won't get every 50-50 decision correct, but over the next few weeks you would want to be in a better place than you would if you hadn't used your free hit chip. That's going to do it for this Game Week 32 free hit draft video. If you did find the video helpful, then please do drop it a like, subscribe to the channel and comment down below what your plans are ahead of Game Week 32. Also make sure to follow me on Twitter at fplfatherted and tune into the deadline stream on Friday evening. Thanks for watching and good luck this game week.